moments. Welcome back, Red Spotters. I'm the Red Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis J. Soto, joined by David Francisco for our final installment of the Hawkeye segment series, recapping all of the episodes of the Disney Plus show. This week we have, of course, the finale, and so this is Christmas, and so this is the finale. David, I cannot believe we have arrived yet again at another finale of the fourth, can you believe this, the fourth live-action Disney Plus Marvel Studios series of the year. It's interesting, a lot of content, a lot of TV, but we're discussing it here on Red Spotlight number 367. Of course, it is a massive week for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. David is here, of course, and we're going to be talking about, because he has not given his thoughts of Spider-Man No Way Home, so we'll be starting off with that. And then we'll also get into, they've also just released in full HD the teaser trailer, I believe, the first teaser trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And then, of course, we'll get into Hawkeye. And I think, you know what, I don't know when exactly we're going to be doing this. We also don't know what month the next Disney Plus show is going to drop. I assume sometime in March, maybe April, who knows. But in the meantime, I do want to go and do a Daredevil rewatch, and I need to see season 3 for the very first time. Because maybe, I don't know, I know there's been already a lot of controversy about a certain character's portrayal in this episode that came from that show. And I guess I need to remind myself more, I guess, in depth what that character was like, because to me it felt like the same character, but then I didn't see season 3, so I don't know if things have changed. A lot of controversy already. People have had some interesting reactions to that portrayal, so I need to go back and refresh myself, because I haven't seen that character or any of the people from that show, if I'm going to be honest with you, since 2018, which that was the year that season 3 came out. But Peter and I, we weren't really, I know you and I'm going to assume Moreno saw it, and I know Kyle saw it, but like Peter and I very much were of the mind that, you know, it just, everything around it was just getting canceled, and it kind of seemed like there was just no point to season 3, because I don't know if we discussed this as it was happening in real time, but it seemed very obvious that no matter what was going to happen in season 3 of Daredevil, it was going to get canceled no matter what, because what we ultimately knew was going to happen is they were shuttering all of production down to make way for the shows, the Marvel shows that we have right now on Disney Plus. So if there is an explanation for why we missed it, we didn't really see much to get excited about when it was going to get canceled one way or the other. Now that these characters are kind of back, spoilers, of course. Then again, we've been discussing it for weeks, if not months on end. Full of spoilers for tonight's episode of Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm just saying that off the bat because at some point we're going to let some things slip, if I didn't already let some things slip about that happens in this movie and the characters that are involved in it. So that's going to be a major conversational piece today. Did you want to say something real quick about that?
I mean, for both No Way Home and Hawkeye, I think we can both say that we enjoyed both of those things. But the only things that we want to critique on, we get against spoilers. So spoilers from here.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's kind of where it is. And we can get into that when we actually go into the episode and, of course, the film and everything. So, yeah, you know, I want to say, first of all, it's I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with Marvel. I really do. And it just depends on like the time of year, because I feel like I went into 2021, you know, kind of being pessimistic about everything, but then WandaVision and Falcon really turned things around for me. And for the most part, Loki. The finale of Loki coupled with Black Widow really brought things back down to earth, where it's like, oh boy. And then Shang-Chi was a little bit of a blip, but then, of course, I've already made my feelings known that it's kind of like has fallen by the wayside, at least for me personally. But then Eternals came along, and that was a weird arc in and of itself, where I like didn't like the movie, then I liked it, and then I really liked it. And then, of course, the No Way Home of it all, where all year long, so much pessimism, so much like anger at like conceptually what the film was going to be about, at least what we suspected it to be. It like the whole idea of this movie just felt like a non-starter. And then Hawkeye, which I mean, I never really cared much about like what the show would be, but I enjoyed it all the way throughout. So it's just weird. I don't know what to make of the MCU. Like sometimes, like actually, like sometimes, like they're like, "Oh God, you guys, this is really like this is subpar for you," but then every now and then they throw something at us where it's like, man, this is why I can't quit you, because this is so much fun. Like all of the stuff that happened tonight with Hawkeye, and then of course with No Way Home. For those of you who are listening, we did have a full in-depth review of the film with Peter Martinez and Alexis Moreno. That was the preceding episode, which actually is episode 366. Can the Spider-Man come out and play? I love that title. That's a direct line that the Goblin used in the movie. And by the way, a lot of our episodes of late have been, in the ballpark of 2.5 hours. This is a 3-hour podcast.
Dang.
So there was a lot to talk about and a lot to say. So if you want to listen to that. And at some point this month, of course, we are going to have reviews for Matrix, Kingsman, Nightmare Alley. And of course, we already have reviews on West Side Story and Being the Ricardos and so much. So if you are curious about what our content was like, well, that's where it is. As far as Marvel content is concerned, we are going to be diving into Daredevil, I imagine, very soon. So with all of that being said, Spider-Man No Way Home opened in theaters. I was just at the theater today. I went to go see Nightmare Alley with Peter, and it might as well have been a private screening because we were the only people in that entire theater. Of course, I didn't expect anything less, but that didn't mean that the theater was like empty. Like it was busy. You could tell that they weren't even on a Wednesday matinee time at 3:00. That was a slow box office line. And of course, it almost feels like the entire community in which we live in finally, for the first time in 2 years, has come out of the woodwork to go to the movies. But of course, we all know which movie they're there to see. Yeah. And that is Spider-Man and everything. So I want to start off, since we're doing this right now, this review of No Way Home, right, with you. I think you have some... maybe not particularly unique. I know Alexis shared some of the issues that you do as far as the ending is concerned. I understand it, although I've seen it now 2 times. And I have to say that for me, just to get this part, out of the way with, the issues that you have with the ending, I'm not sure I share with you. But that being said, I feel like for the most part, a lot of us really do agree on what works and doesn't work with the movie. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it is kind of better than what we had expected we would feel, I think, for the most part about this movie. In some ways. Maybe in some other areas it could be a disappointment. But yeah, I saw it 2 times. I surprisingly really like this film. Before we get into your thoughts on this movie and what and everything, we already know what you expected it to be because we got into that last week. But can you quickly recap your feelings on the previous Spider-Man films? We're not counting Venom. Those aren't Spider-Man movies as far as I'm concerned. But we're talking about like the Raimi films, the 2 Andrew Garfield films, the 2 Tom Holland movies, and also Into the Spider-Verse. Which, I mean, you just told me you got a poster of Into the Spider-Verse, and I think that very clearly is your favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yes, Spider-Verse.
I don't think there's any question.
It's for sure. It's my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's my favorite superhero movie. I mean, it's just all around awesome. Maybe
favorite movie ever. Who knows? It could be a contender.
It's for sure. Contender. Yeah. But for the past Spider-Man movies with Raimi's, I mean, that was like the first superhero movie I think that I saw, and for Spider-Man for sure became my favorite superhero because of that movie. Mm-hmm. So I have a love for those movies. I did rewatch the first one just maybe a couple months ago. I haven't watched the other two, but I mean, it was fun. Like it just, the story just moved along, and I always laugh at the final fight because as a kid, even when I first saw it, I hated that fight because I didn't like Spider-Man like getting his ass kicked, because he really got like his ass kicked on that final fight. Now I'm just kind of like, fuck, this is so cool.
It's so cool, but that's also an aspect that is kind of like glossed over, how like, hand to hand and like really bloody in many ways or not bloody, but like, well, it's very much visceral and like, whoa, like goblins really beating down on Spider-Man. And it kind of came back into play in No Way Home. That brutality. So cool. So we'll get into that aspect of it. Alexis told me that you two would watch that movie a lot at home.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The first Spider-Man film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, all the time. But yeah, then the other two, I enjoyed them. For Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man, that one, I mean, I enjoyed them. I never thought they were like horrible like everyone else did. And I really liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. His Peter Parker, someone like people say that he's more of a hipster than a nerd, and I agree.
Have you rewatched them recently?
Recently, no. Mm-mm.
I'm very curious to see what you would think if you'd gone back and seen them. Interestingly enough, the first movie, this kind of carbon dates us, is already 10 years old. The first Amazing Spider-Man, I mean. The first Spider-Man is almost 20 years old.
Yeah, damn.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just mostly enjoyed them. Like I said, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was really fun. And I actually did like the relationship between him and Gwen. But other than that, haven't really thought much of them, of those two movies. For the Home movies, the Home trilogy, I really love them. I know, I understand people's problems. Like Peter mentioned it before, about the whole Tony Stark being the mentor and all that. But I really enjoyed it, mostly because it just makes sense in this universe.
Sure.
He grew up seeing these heroes. Of course he's gonna like love one of them, wants to like be under one of them's wings and all that. And I just kind of we'll get to it later. But other than, and I really am liking Tom Holland's Peter Parker. I think he's more. I think I see him more of an obvious nerd than the past ones and everything, and it's just fun, especially the first one. I think the first one is actually my favorite out of the three.
Homecoming.
Yeah, Homecoming. Just because
it's really good. Michael
Keaton's really good. I mean, fucking the villains in No Way Home, obviously fucking amazing. The best thing about the movie, but like I just mostly liked Vulture's character in the first one, just kind of what he went through, the reasons why he became a villain. And it's just fun. So much fun. It's so funny too, especially the beginning when he's going around the city and he's talking to a couple of people. Like, I think that's something. That's the cool thing about all these three movies, is that you're always getting something different from the Spider-Man, even in Spider-Verse. Like, you're just always getting something different. It's just crazy, like how much you can change up this character in a way. It's really cool to watch all three of these things. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on all the Spider-Man.
So tell me what you thought of No Way Home.
So I did like it. It's just, I'm gonna get into my dislikes in a bit, but again, Tom's always great. He really killed it in his acting in this one, and everything.
Made me cry a couple of times, or nearly cry. Honestly, to me, one of that moment toward the end was a real gut punch. That last scene he had with Zendaya in particular, the very last scene. I mean, The story was fine. It was just, I just feel like I kind of felt it was really just there to kind of
get to the ending, like what the people wanted and all that.
Right.
But the other Spider-Man joining in, Andrew and Toby, they were fucking great. The villains were also great. Just like everything, the multiverse aspect of it was like the best part of the movie, and they all fucking killed it. Which is why I understand why so many people love it and all that, because it's a classic almost. bringing them in, and yeah, and so now my criticisms. So yeah, like my sister mentioned it. Her and I had the same thoughts in the ending. In that, I just kind of thought the ending was pretty depressing, because he literally lost everything. And at first, I just kind of went, whatever, people. He's fine. This is finally the Spider-Man that people wanted to see from the comics, and I understand why some people like that part. And then the more reviews I saw, the more I started to dislike it. Because one review, someone said, "Finally, a Spider-Man that is suffering." And that really bothered me, because I'm like, why are you enjoying that? And just the more reviews I saw, the more I'm kind of like, I feel like I saw a way different hero than everyone else. Like, it's just, I did not think I just don't like the fact that people are like, oh yeah, this is Spider-Man. He never gets the girl. He never get what he wants. It's always a depressing life for him. And I'm like, that's not what I saw at all. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? And some of these people, they're comic book fans and all that, and they're saying this, but like, either way, I'm just kind of like, this is something, there's something wrong here. I don't understand. And so what I always saw Spider-Man as, yes, he has a rough life. He always has relationship problems. He always has money problems and all that. The thing though is just that there's always help when he needs it. That's always kind of second to what's kind of important, I guess. I don't know. I don't explain that part. But so the first thing that really, really bothers me after like watching all these reviews and really thinking about the movie was Aunt May's death. One thing, I don't think Aunt May was built up enough to like for me to really care about her death. I did have a problem with her saying the whole great power comes great responsibility line. Not because it came from her or anything. Like, I don't care who it came from. It's just... Now, this one, actually, I forgot to mention, I do need to watch it again. I've only seen it once. I need to watch it again just for this scene, because when I first saw that part, I kind of found it cringe. But, some people were like, I think the reason people found it cringe is because that line is basically a meme at this point now. People are just kind of overusing it. So I'm like, okay, that's on me then. I need to rewatch it just to kind of really give my thoughts on that. But I still have my criticisms of the scene itself. If I really do believe the trilogy was building up to that moment to get that line for Aunt May's death, and it just seemed kind of boring in the moment. My biggest criticisms might seem minor to some people, but like, there was no music playing in that moment. And I feel like if you're going to have Tom Holland just like act the shit out of that scene.
There was music playing at the end.
Oh, so like right when she died?
Look, our first viewings, we have to keep in mind with the fact that when we're watching them with like big crowds and audiences, they're cheering and they're clapping, they're like gasping. A lot of that can really like be louder than what's happening in the movie. Like, for example, when I saw it the first time, I basically didn't see that whole scene with Matt Murdock. I couldn't hear a thing. Because, first of all, it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
But people were like, yeah, so... But I remember, I think, when you first mentioned it to me that there was no music playing, I was inclined to agree with you because that's how I remembered it. But when I went back and I saw it again, there actually was music playing. The music came in once it was evident that May died. But before then, when she, is doing with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And then she like falls or she lays down and everything. all of that, there's no music playing there. It felt kind of like, well, part of her death was used, at least the first part of her dying was definitely used as a shock moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yes, it's always shocking when major characters die. But it definitely had the feel of like, are you guys getting it? She's gonna die now, so we're gonna hold this shot a little longer to make sure everybody understands that this is her about to die. And I don't know. I know a lot of deaths in a lot of films are used as like shock value moments, but this definitely. I don't know if it needed it to be that drawn out. Some of it, and I understand the whole thing of it like feeling tacked on. The reason why it feels tacked on is because, well, somebody needed to say that moment. You had to give it to Aunt May, and they want to make it seem as if that was a character that had any kind of connection. And on a surface level, maybe yes, but ultimately not really. It wasn't built up in the previous two films, so that's why a lot of the impact and emotion that you would have felt in that scene really just gets, the air is out of the balloon, or the air was never really in the balloon because of how the previous films didn't lay the groundwork for that moment to actually land. And then as far as execution in this particular scene, part of it was used for shock value.
Yeah.
And then the music is swelling in, and they also make the decision to have May not realize she's dying. Which, that to me is the issue I have more with in that moment, because she just goes. She's like, Peter, what's happening? Like, is everything okay? And I think what would have made the moment better is if she understood this was it, and so maybe she uses her last moments alive to then say the great responsibility line before she goes, and then she tells Peter that she loves him, and then I feel like that scene, as far as execution, could have been far better handled than it was.
Yeah, especially because it was honestly kind of weird the whole time, because she gets hit by the glider and then she gets back up, and I'll kind of like, I feel like that should have been instant death. You know, like
also Toby gets stabbed in the back later on and nothing really happens to him.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then
you know,
and then like, you know, and obviously you see that she's like in shock almost when she gets back up and everything, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then she starts going down, and you're kind of like, okay, so this is happening. Is this actually happening? Okay, yeah, it's happening. And then she dies, and then it bothers me because like then the music builds up, you know, as she's like really finally dying, and you know the music just keeps building and building, but you're just seeing Tom's, Peter, and Happy's reaction to her death, and I'm like, I feel like this isn't the right place to put music. Like, I feel like you gotta put it like as soon as she's, either right before she says the line or as soon as she says the whole responsibility line, and then see just Peter's reaction. You can put Happy's reaction too, but like, I don't know. It just kind of, for me, from a filmmaking aspect, it wasn't done right. At least for me. No,
I think that was definitely one of the weaker moments. There were a lot of issues with that, and I understand you completely.
And so now, the line. When it comes to adaptations, I don't care what kind of changes the writer, director makes. You know, do whatever you want. Like, I'm just happy that this thing is in live action. This thing is being made. But the thing though is that line is very, very important to Peter, and if you're gonna do it, I feel like you're just gonna have to do it right. I didn't mind that they didn't really put it on in Homecoming or in Civil War or anything like that. It was easy to believe that, like, oh, it's already been said. He already like knows about the whole responsibility thing. He just doesn't know how to be a proper hero. That's really like the whole trilogy. And then this one though, it bothers me because no, I never read the comics, so I'm basing this off Raimi's, which again, you know, I love him. That's why I love Spider-Man. And the reason why that line is important for Peter is because he gets told that later on he sees something bad happening and he does nothing. And because of that led to his uncle getting shot. And so that's the reason why he does what he does, Spider-Man, because he believes that if he does nothing, no matter how minor it is, it could end up worse if he if he just does nothing. So that's why he always goes and saves people, even if it's at the cost of his school, his work, or his relationship. Like, he just can't stand to do nothing. And so what bothers me here is that, you know, in this one, yeah, he's deciding to do nothing. He just wants to send the villains back to their own universe. And then Aunt May tells him to, no, you got to do the right thing here. You got to save these people if you can, you know? And that's one thing that's bothered me in reviews. They're all saying that he decided to save these people because he's Spider-Man.
Hold up. I'm trying to remember these moments. The order of events.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, when Peter is on the mission to capture the villains, when he captures Electro and Sandman, and then even when he has that moment when Norman walks in and is with May, and then Peter finds them, do I remember correctly that at that moment Peter still doesn't fully understand that sending these people back where they came from will kill them? He does say, it doesn't matter. That's not my problem. Yes, he says that when May and him are talking about it while Norman is sitting across from them. But at that particular moment in time, he still doesn't realize that through the process of sending them back, they're going to go back to die. It's not until after all of them are caught, they're in the dungeon, and then through the revelation is made through the villain's conversation that they all died. And then Strange confirms it. And when that revelation is revealed, then Peter makes the decision that he will not send these people back to their deaths. That's how it went down, right?
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Because it could also be that we're maybe maybe you're misremembering the order of events and how they went down. But I think what I just described is how it happens.
Basically, like the moment he realizes that they are going to die, he decides to help them for sure.
He switches the he flips the switch.
Okay, that's my bad.
Okay.
But I mean, either way though, like he still wanted to send them back the way they were, even though because Aunt May tells him, you know, this guy doesn't seem right. Like, I'm not talking about, you know, just...
He needs help. He needs a lot of help.
There's something wrong up here. And
right.
That's what he still decides, like, that's not my problem. She's like, no. Like, that's not what we do here. Like, we help people, you know? And so either way though, like he's still deciding to do something good. And then later on, he ends up losing Aunt May. Later on, he ends up losing his friends. Everyone forgets about him. He literally doesn't have an identity anymore, basically. And so it just, you know, it's literally the exact opposite of like the important part of the line.
Right. Can I go back to that real quick? I almost feel like, okay, let's talk about why it's there. They decided that they wanted to kill off, I think, Aunt May, because I think they made the decision that they wanted to have stakes in this film, and they also wanted to have someone give the, you know, where with great power comes great responsibility. That's why ultimately it's there. It's interesting because when you look at it, this particular version of Peter Parker didn't really ever need that line to be heroic. I know at one point when he was first introduced in Civil War and in Homecoming, it was assumed that off screen, that whole Uncle Ben situation in Great Power already happened. But the difference here is it feels very much like Peter in the MCU, this version, didn't get his powers until after Ben had perished. Whereas in the other versions in the live action adaptations, with Maguire and with Garfield, both of their Uncle Bens give their lines, and that's the moment where they decide to be heroes. But in the MCU, it's been, even from his initial scene, Peter's already doing the whole Spider-Man thing, and that first scene with Tony Stark really kind of like, I feel is one of the best scenes put to film about what a hero is. So automatically, like from the beginning, we start off with this version of Peter Parker already heroic. So the argument could be made that really this isn't something that Peter really needed to hear because he's always been heroic. Although another argument that I'm willing to entertain is through the things that transpire in this particular film, No Way Home. You could definitely, and maybe the film could have done a better job to really show how disillusioned Peter had become, because look at all that he did, but then look at what the world responded to him in favor. All of this controversy, all of this chaos, his whole life was uprooted when his identity was revealed. His parents paid his friends paid the price for knowing him and everything. And so him being in the mindset of like, fuck these people, isn't that unreasonable considering what happened recently in the film? Sure. But I think ultimately, to the larger issue, leaving that there for a moment, to the other issue of like, what is Peter Parker? For me, I don't relish or enjoy seeing a character that I like, suffer. I just feel like the previous two films didn't give this particular character anything substantial, right? So he did lose Tony Stark, and we did see him react emotionally to Tony Stark in, Avengers Endgame. But what this particular Peter Parker hasn't had yet was the loss to the level of Uncle Ben, and then what the Peter Parker's experience after the fact, which is unbridled rage and vengeance initially. And so I think they were trying to give him that because on some level I do think, looking at this movie, Kevin Feige did take a lot of the criticisms to heart. One of the ones, which I think this movie kind of really does course correct, which was make this a singular and unique Peter Parker story. While yes, there is, Stephen Strange is in there, he doesn't come in and completely take over the whole thing. He's just there to facilitate the stuff that happens, and I think that's a positive of the film overall, because I was very worried about Strange just completely taking over this movie entirely because of the multiverse shenanigans. But I think ultimately with this ending with Peter is like, I don't think the mission statement is that Peter isn't allowed to be happy, or he's not allowed to have like his life really and how he wants it at the end of it. I think the mission statement, and I think what the ending affirms, is that it's not easy being Peter Parker. And that isn't to say that in the last two movies of Tom Holland that he had it entirely easy. But I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that he really had it made in comparison to his other predecessors, with so much of his tech really being given to him by Stark, with him really having a lot of resources available to him by way of Stark and by way of the Avengers. So the argument, I think, was that this Peter had it way too good, and really in his adventures didn't have much of a price to pay for, the dual identity of being Peter Parker. And that's why in this film, there's a lot that he loses. And I understand, I understand that it is sad. It is supposed to be sad that he basically loses everybody and everyone that he's ever loved forgot he ever existed. That's painful. The way, and I know Peter made an argument for why this is a great ending, and I can definitely, I'll direct all of you who are listening to that podcast, but for me, it's like, why it kind of ended up being hopeful was, at least to me, is the promise of what could come after the fact. And I think what this represents is, aside from the movie, is Feige's, maybe he has more of an ability to listen to criticism than I had originally given him credit for in this, because of this really lays the groundwork for some of the more meatier, dramatic Peter Parker stories that people have come. Like, look at Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 as a film is relentless, on Peter Parker. Everything goes against him. But that kind of really ultimately is the point, is that he is heroic. He's a good person. But it is difficult. And I think even in the movie where Toby himself is asked about how, his relationship is, and it's not exactly a surprise to hear that it's complicated, but it's going. And that's like, he always has to make that effort because there always will be sacrifice with him being the hero that he is. That being said, though, this is, I think, maybe the first time that we've seen, just on a pure, body count, but then also, this is probably the hardest we've seen Peter Parker get hit. And it is a depressing notion to think about, all of that he has lost. But I feel like it's a sad thing to say, because I like this character, but it kind of was warranted considering how little he lost in the previous installments. And I think there needs to be consequences, real consequences at some point for these movies to matter.
Well,
but he real quick, I think he ends the movie in a place of having a greater understanding of who he is and what he's supposed to do. But yeah, that's where it is. Continue.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not asking for some happily ever after in this movie. It's just,
right.
I guess like I said, I do think this trilogy was building up to the whole responsibility line. I don't mind that they killed off Aunt May. He could have broken up with MJ, or they could have forgotten about him being Spider-Man. That's all fine for me. It's just that for him to lose everything else, I just more than anything, I would have liked the ending with him going to college with Ned, and that's it, And it's just, you have a scene with him, he puts a picture down of him and Aunt May on the desk or something, and then it's just they're both Ned's supporting him, and just new start, that's all we can do right now. And it fits with the ending, it is a new start. If it went that way. So I don't mind that he loses people. And just that the thing though is that with the Raimi movies, the reason bad things happen to him, it's just pure bad luck. The reason Aunt May got attacked in the first one is because he fought Green Goblin. He got a cut on his arm. Later on, Goblin saw the cut and he pieced it together. The reason why he attacked MJ later on is because his son caught Peter and MJ together holding hands and everything, and he just kind of assumed, okay, you know what, I don't think our relationship's gonna work. She seems to be liking Peter. He tells that to his dad, and then he pieces it together, I gotta go after MJ. That's the reason why they get attacked, and then that's the reason why he thinks they're gonna be in danger if they hang out with him. And then, but what happens in the second one? She tells him, hey, I'm willing to do this. I don't give a fuck. And he ends up with the girl. And this one, though, he's literally trying to do something good, and he ends up losing everything because he's doing something good. And and the thing that bothers me is in reviews is just people are like, oh my gosh, even after everything he does, he loses everything. That's great. That's Spider-Man. And it's just that's the whole point. When the hero does something good, they're not getting they don't want anything back. They don't want thanks. They don't expect anything in return. But that the reason why we root for these heroic moments is because something good does happen. As he's saving MJ in Raimi's movie, as he's saving MJ and the kids, Green Goblin comes in to attack, and what happens? The people on the bridge save him. And they go, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. He inspired people to be heroic on their own. And you don't see that in No Way Home. He just loses everything and people are cheering for it. And it's just, that's why in the end, I see there's literally no hope. And again, what bothers me with the whole responsibility line is that, again, the reason why he sticks to his powers, the reason why he sticks to this Spider-Man identity is because if he does nothing, things will get worse. If I'm not the one that's saving these people, something worse will happen. And so with this one, again, he does something good. Bad things happen to him. And he believes that everything he does gets worse. And in taking away the Spider-Man name, just like any hero, like at one point, is the audience going to say, should you be a hero? Like after everything that happens? But no, they're saying he should be the hero just because it's Spider-Man. And so it's just the thing that really bothers me with this movie. You know, I feel like people are just, and I don't like these reviews because they want him to be depressing. They want him to suffer. You know, that's literally what someone said in the review. Someone else said, I love it when Spider-Man gets his ass handed to him. You know, and I love that part where he's fighting Goblin in No Way Home in that hotel. Like, you know, you can feel the punches and everything. They're really both kicking each other's asses. But the reason why I liked it's not because Spider-Man's getting his ass handed to him. It's because for the first time since Infinity War, I'm feeling the stakes. Like I really felt if he doesn't stop him here, someone's going to die. Someone does die. Yeah. You know, and that's why in Raimi's that last fight is so cool. It's so good because if he doesn't stop him here, he's gonna die. And so, where was I going with this? Oh, and this worries me about the future of the movies because when people are saying that they want his life to be depressing, suffering, you know, he's supposed to not have everything. It scares me because this isn't that different when people say, I want a dark and gritty Batman. You know, I want the villains to, be super fucking evil, torturing people, and I want Batman to beat the shit out of them and all that, and I want him to just, see all the evil in the world. It's just that's what I'm seeing with these reviews, and I'm like, that's not what I see in Spider-Man, and so, yeah, that's just really my main criticism. Again, the villains and the other Spider-Man coming in, it's so fun. I'm going to rewatch it because of them. But I worry what people are taking away from this movie.
I don't think you have anything to be worried about because I don't think anybody should be under any illusion that at the end there's going to be a happy ending. And at the end, MJ and Ned are going to remember. Mm-hmm. We all know they're going to go back on that. Because I feel like even on some part they teased it. Mm-hmm. The idea that at the end of Tom Holland's time as Spider-Man, we're going to have a story where he loses everything and that's all right. And that's the only kind of Spider-Man movie. I don't think that's what... For me, the way that I interpret it is, I don't think people are actively rooting for like depressing stuff all the way throughout. I think really what they're trying to say is they just want heavier material. Mm-hmm. They want something that is, with actual stakes, that shakes things up. They want more out of these kind of stories. But that's what I feel a lot of people are saying, but I haven't seen very many reviews, honestly, of No Way Home. Honestly, it almost just seems futile to do that because I know what they're gonna say. Yeah, and it almost seems like a waste of time. And I also feel like, for as much as I do like the movie, and there are a lot more issues of which you can listen to on the previous episode. It's not by any means the best Spider-Man movie or in the top 2, and it's hilarious how it happens every single time though. It's like nobody really, like Peter was right, nobody really said best Spider-Man movie as far as their initial twit twits, the original tweets that came out. But when you look at people's lists, No Way Home is pretty fucking high. Mm-hmm. Which I understand on some level, but I also don't agree. So there's that. Anything else you want to say on No Way Home?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. So then, let's go ahead and talk about that trailer for Multiverse of Madness. I don't know what to make of this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what this movie is. I know that there are going to be characters that I like involved in it. I don't know what the story is. And it just comes across like cameos in the movie.
Probably, honestly.
Literally, a lot of the reshoots that just happened were because they wanted to add in more cameos.
Mm-hmm. And, and we were worried about this with Spider-Man, that it was just going to be cameos in the movie. The thing, though, is that John Watts, he did an awesome job at, like, really using these characters, you know? Like, they use, as soon as they're there to the end.
Mm-hmm. They mattered in the story.
And one video I saw, people mentioned they're more worried about Doctor Strange because both movies, both Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, there's pretty heavy studio interference going on with both of those movies.
Yeah.
When Raimi had that interference in Spider-Man 3, it was just to add Venom. Like, that was pretty much the big thing that he needed to change. And he kind of made a not so good movie. Like, it ruined his Spider-Man franchise, basically. And so the fact that there's a lot more studio interference in this one, like, how is he going to handle that? You know? And I mean, John Watts, he did a great job at that studio interference, but like, from what we've seen, Raimi doesn't seem to handle that well.
Well, who made the decision to hire Sam Raimi? Kevin Feige. Who's doing the interfering? Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
So I would maybe not put the ire on Raimi's shoulders entirely, especially like if Raimi isn't being allowed to make the movie he wants to make. Well, I feel you know what you're going to get with that. Mm-hmm. Honestly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much more to say.
Yeah.
We'll see what it is. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get to this episode of Hawkeye. I am just going to put it out there and say that Hawkeye, I feel, just as a show, is maybe the weakest of the 4 we've gotten this year. But I really want a season 2.
Yeah.
I really want a season 2 more than any of the other ones because I care a lot about, honestly, a lot of these characters. Mm-hmm. I want to see more of Kate. I want to see more of Clint, and I want to see more of them together. I want more of Vera Farmiga. I think they're going to make her more of a baddie in the next season. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that works a lot for me, and I would be very interested in seeing more from these characters. Maybe even a bigger role for Linda Cardellini at long last. Fingers crossed if we get the next season, considering what they were teasing with her.
Yeah.
But I care a lot about these characters. And I feel like from the standpoint of execution, and I just went back and saw it, this is easily the best finale they've done, where they don't fumble the ball on a couple of different things. Let me explain to you. From a spectacle standpoint, maybe not the best. I'm just saying from like a character and thematic standpoint, I think they stuck the landing the best without there being any other major issues. With WandaVision, the emotion in that last episode is ultimately what makes it, at least for me, good. All the other stuff with, Sword and Monica and the 2 battles just kind of like go nowhere for me, even though it is a big spectacle. But it definitely felt like that one was among the more disappointing ones because, like, thematically, a lot of the issues we had were within reach of them being fixed. Mm-hmm. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was definitely a more solid finale, but there were still problems. In particular with how they treated John Walker, which is still really weird when you look back on the problems that we had with him. And I guess we were supposed to be happy with it. I still think we were cheated out of a great scene with Bucky not getting to have, telling the guy that he killed his son. That was bad. I mean, honestly, we needed to see more of that. And then the whole thing with, like, what's her name? Sharon Carter. I don't know what they plan to do with her, but it's whatever. And then we get to Loki's finale. And honestly, looking back on it, it was kind of a disaster. I'm being honest with you, because it wasn't a finale to this season. It felt like the whole show just stopped to give us a commercial for the multiverse. And I guess that's it, guys. We'll see you next, not year, but we'll see you whenever we come back. So really the competition hasn't been all that great. And so there wasn't much really to live up to, but I feel like this is quite easily the best finale. I don't know what it is, but they still need to figure out how to land their shows. They haven't. I mean, Kevin Feige still hasn't figured that out. And I know, everyone's talking about these shows, and everyone's talking about, like, as far as like finales, and you have to. I'm sure you agree with this on me, David. It's like not a single one of these 4-season finales holds a candle to how great S.H.I.E.L.D. delivered finales. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s finales, I feel, for me, I know I'm biased it's one of my favorite shows, but like, they always delivered on their season finales. And oftentimes their finales were the best episodes of their seasons. Maybe even some of the best episodes that they were able to execute. They, in some ways, they even over-delivered in some seasons as far as finales. They were great. I'm old enough to remember when somebody wrote an article saying that the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 was better than Age of Ultron. Because it was. Again, maybe the bar ain't that high, but the point being made, it's crazy to me how much attention and how much discussion a lot of these shows rate just by the fact that they're on Disney Plus and Kevin Feige produced them, sure. If you really want to know how to do a TV finale, go look at that show. Or even Daredevil, since we have that there. But I don't think there have been, of these 4 finales as episodes, I haven't really been impressed with any one of them. I like them. One I really dislike. But because expectations are so low, I think this one definitely stuck the landing the most. Bishop, all the stuff with her, and Clint, guys, great stuff. I love the action for the most part was serviceable. It was a lot of fun gags to it. Interesting battles we have with Maya and Kazi, Clint and Yelena, and then Wilson and Kate, which talk about, I've never thought what? You have Kate Bishop versus Kingpin? Like, what? So there's a lot of stuff that happens in here that's like, okay, this is interesting and weird and something I never thought I'd see, but okay. But I thought it was a solid finale, and I have very little issues with. As far as the Kingpin of it all is concerned, I don't know how I feel about it entirely just yet. I thought the stuff that they did with him worked, and it felt exactly like him. But for the people who think like, wow, they really watered him down, what were you expecting? We've kind of been talking about this all year long, that this was going to happen. And to be honest with you, yeah, sure, he didn't get bloody. And we'll talk about him getting blown up. That was weird. But yeah, there's a lot of things to get into, and we'll get to all of it. But overall, solid episode. Best finale easily. Your thoughts, David?
No, yeah, I really did like the finale. I really enjoyed the action. There were some very funny moments with Kate and Yelena. But building up to the whole teamwork of Kate and Hawkeye, I really did like it, especially because it looked like a lot of fun and everything that they did. In terms of Kingpin, I mean, I thought it was fine what they did with him.
Yeah.
I did have a problem with that Hawaiian shirt that he had on, but then because I was just like, this seems really out of place. I don't know what the heck is going on. But then you sent the picture of that. It's in the comics. I guess it's a.
Both of the outfits he wore are from the comics.
Okay, so I mean, I guess. It's just, I mean, I've literally just seen him in suits, like suit and tie and vest and everything. So it just
the Hawaiian shirt he's wearing under his suit.
I know, but still, it stands out. Like I don't mind like the red, the white and red hat and everything. I had some color to him. Why not? It's just it completely took me by surprise. But yeah, everything with Kate and her mom, it was cool and all. But yeah, overall, it really was a fun finale, and I do agree with you. Like, more than the other ones, I want a second season with Hawkeye and Kate in it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what they'll do, but it'll be fun.
All right, so shall we get into this episode and start off with where do we begin this week?
What did it start? I know. I think it just started with Kay and Hawkeye and still in that apartment, just trying to like.
Well, yeah, we start off with Kingpin. He opens up the episode.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's it's Kate's mom going up to Kingpin. Basically telling him, hey, I'm out. Don't call me. We had a good business going on, but I want out because my daughter seems to be getting closer and closer to this whole thing. And, and people brought up Kingpin was watered down, or I don't know. I guess they just didn't like what they did to him in this episode. But from what I saw, it was fine. Kingpin is scary. He can get scary at times and all that. But when it comes to just having a normal conversation with people, the way he talks to his business partners and everything, he tries to be as respectful as he can towards them.
That felt exactly like the Wilson Fisk I knew.
Yeah.
I don't. That's an example of something where I don't quite understand what people had an issue with. Even down to like. There's other scenes that happen where it's like that felt exactly like him, but like, let's just go ahead and get into that, the whole Kingpins, because I feel like we need to just get it, even talking about other scenes, but even when he's yelling at Kazi for all of the frustrations that he's having, like that felt exactly like the Wilson Fisk that we saw from the Daredevil TV show. Him being watered, I mean, to me, where he felt the most watered down, I guess you could say, it was when he was fighting Kate Bishop, but even then, he was dominating that battle pretty easily. And the only reason she was able to walk away was because she got the best of him through her knickknacks that she has. And that was that. I don't know. Here's the thing. You could definitely make the argument that it was watered down, that he didn't like go ape shit on her, although she is a kid. And I don't like, we've never even, when Kingpin does that, has Kingpin ever killed a kid in the Daredevil TV show?
No, I doubt it.
No, so I don't know what people thought what was going to happen here in that case. And then he also, I don't know, he was hit by a car, he was stabbed by an arrow, and he got blown up and was thrown around the building and still walked away just fine.
No, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if like that you can call that watered down.
No, I mean, when I say watered down, I'm talking about, I would have.
I don't mean you, by the way.
No,
I mean people.
Yeah, but for me, like when I say it, it was watered down. It's like if this was in Netflix, I would have seen a lot more bruises from Kate, some blood dripping from the side of her face and everything. Not like, it's just covered in blood or anything like that. No. Just a couple bruises, a cut or two in the face and everything. Like, And that's mostly because, again, like you say, she's a kid. We don't really want to see that coming from her. But with this one, though, I think they really powered him up, especially because all of the hits he took and everything.
It felt that way, didn't it? Like, he kind of felt more superhuman.
Yeah, and I'd be kind of cool if they kind of explained that a bit. That'd be kind of cool. But
he got hit by a car. He got blown up.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea to do, because if you just make him a normal person, then I feel like you really have to get violent just so we can feel the stakes of it. Like, oh shit, she's not gonna make it out of this. But because they powered him up, he's able to throw around her. He's able to throw her around a bit. She's just kind of like trying to do her best to like knock him down, at least to get away or something. And so powering him up, it just you get the stakes. You just won't get the violence. That's really all it is. And I think that's a good thing to do. Yeah, because again, people should have known. Like, you're not gonna get that R rating Kingpin. You're getting a PG Kingpin here.
Yeah, which it seems people are gonna have an issue with, and I understand that. But hey, we told you that was gonna happen. We were saying this, so I don't think you have any excuse to be surprised. Yeah. Apparently, that's the price of being canonized. Yeah. Anyway.
But also though,
yes,
the actor though, he still kills it. He's still like, he gives you that little bit of fear that he's just gonna burst at any moment. Especially like in the beginning. She's just like. She's like, okay, cool, I'm done. And he's just kind of like, I think you should reconsider. I'm like, oh God, don't do something. Don't hurt her.
Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio felt exactly like he did in the show, and as well as his interaction with Eleanor. Pretty ballsy for her to do. Also kind of stupid though. I don't know what she thought was going to happen, even though she did have incriminating evidence on him. The idea that he would react kindly to that, I don't know. But we also do get a revelation, so I guess it ends up that the reason why she's associated with him was because her husband owed a substantial amount of money to Kingpin, and so she then had to pay him for all those years and years, and then kept profiteering. And then she wants out, but of course it's the mob, and the mob doesn't allow for such kindness in that regard. So we automatically know from this moment, oh man, you really just stupidly put a target on your back, but okay. Also with this, I don't know, and I don't want you to just, because I'm going to go watch it. I don't know the events of season 3, but this felt like a very dingy, rundown office for someone of Kingpin's stature. Like, at least what I'm more accustomed to him like being in a high bougie tower of some sort, in the heart of Manhattan. So this felt like a downgrade, unless he really did fall. But he then also refers to New York as his city, so, and people still know of him, and people still are scared of him. So it's like, I don't know. Also, there's the whole question of like, does anything that happened in the show Daredevil really matter with what they want to do with these characters here? And I know, like, I just shared these tweets out just a couple hours ago, but like, someone was tweeting about like, oh, if you want to see more of these characters, go look at the Daredevil show, because it's a really good show and everything. Adam Hlavak responded with something that just makes my brain hurt, because I feel like this is what happens when you don't clarify anything. And I feel we're going to get more and more of this. And as I feared, right, you and I had a suspicion this would happen. He says, I'm afraid to suggest this because then people will assume we're getting those exact versions in the MCU. And I don't think that will be the case exactly. So he's the mind that these aren't the same characters from the show, which is infuriating, because they act exactly the same as they did in those shows, and it's the same actors. And then on top of that, there are other people. Look, I think that this thread is an example of what's happening in a lot of these nerd circles. This person says, Show confirmed it's canon. Matt seems exactly the same from the show too. Somebody responds, how does the show confirms it's canon? This Fisk seems very different. Then another person responds, he's definitely more comic-ish. His strength was more realistic in the Netflix show, and his outfit style is nothing like before. So I don't know where that leaves us, David, quite frankly. Like, I mean, I want the show to be considered to be canon. I don't know if I'm going to get that. And it's pretty sad that we still can't answer that question, even with D'Onofrio and Cox having officially been, like, in Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige produced stories. Mm-hmm. Where do we stand with all of this?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're just gonna have to wait and see what's going to happen.
Wait for what? Are they ever really gonna give us an answer to this?
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't mind. I mean, it will suck because there's the stories that was in Netflix won't be mentioned. But at this point, I really don't mind if it's just kind of like a soft reboot, like how Peter mentioned it. Because again, I did like what they did with Kingpin here. It's still, because of the actor, it still feels a bit of the same way. There's just a few changes with him.
Let me ask you this question. Since you know of what transpired in season 3, where we find him here in Hawkeye, does this feel like a natural progression of where he would be? Or does it feel like there was a chapter or two that we missed along the way for him to where we're at with him here?
I think it feels right. It's just that the thing with Kingpin is that he always manages to get back to the top, you know? And so with this one, it doesn't seem he's living like the luxurious life like he had in the Netflix shows, but, you know, just in time, he always just manages to make it on top.
Okay. So I guess we'll see that. So since we're on the Kingpin, we'll just get into his next scene, which is with Maya. So Maya very much is like, yeah, I got a little carried away, and I'm sorry. And also I want a couple of days off. And it's a really good scene because, again, all of it is communicated through sign language, at least for her part. But it's very clearly communicated that Kingpin and Kazi aren't buying this at all. And they sense something is off. You see it on their faces. And it's even confirmed after the fact, where he says even Maya has turned on us. Which is pretty interesting. They're very good at reading people, it seems like. But yeah, I thought it was a great moment for, in particular, this felt a lot like Wilson Fisk, just bitching about all of the problems that he has. The Ronin, an Avenger. I love the line of, it made me laugh, like, the bishop woman thinks she can quit her job like she works at Goldman Sachs. And then, of course, Maya turning on us. You see, that's a moment that felt very much like what happened. What would happen in the other show. So, and it was a great scene.
Yeah. No, it was actually pretty cool seeing like a little bit of a different side to Kingpin. Because if you remember, you know, it does seem like he does care about Maya and all that. He cared about Vanessa in the Netflix shows, but that was more of like an obsession. This is more of like, I want to take care of you, because he seems almost like he sees her as just like a little girl, basically, which, you know, he obviously practically raised her, I guess, in a way. So it was kind of interesting to see that. And even, you know, we can skip towards the end where they last meet. Maya meets him somewhere in the street, points a gun at him, and it doesn't seem like he doesn't want to fight her in that moment. He just he does want to like get her back, I guess, on his side almost. But it leaves it open. Who knows what happens?
Well, we hear I feel like well, what happened in that scene is there's a gun that she has and she shoots him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, what
Yeah, people complain.
well, it's not that people complain. That's the issue. Is why they complain. They complain because people legit thought he's dead. You don't bring him back for an episode and then kill him. Like, are you guys okay? Have you not seen like TV shows or movies before? The camera literally panned away.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see it happen, it didn't happen. He's not dead. It's
like all movie and TV show tropes just go out the window just so they can complain.
Right?
Yeah, it's always annoying.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. What do we make of his fight with Kate Bishop? Since we're doing this out of order anyway, so let's just go ahead and get there.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like I said, I really liked it. I like that. Like I said, I like the added strength that they gave him. And she was really. She couldn't take him, really. It was really interesting for me to see that. And I like the way she beat him, obviously, the setup with the whole, I don't know, flicking the, what is it? What's it called? The
trick arrows? Oh, no, the bottle cap or whatever it was. I don't know what it was.
No, it was those things that you put on sleeves and suits. The fucking...
Lapel? No, not a lapel. Cufflink?
Cufflink, yeah. It was that. She took it from him, from his suit, and she threw it at one of the trick arrows. And yeah, it was the one that said, what is it? Like, really dangerous one or something. And she blew him up, basically, which...
that was kind of funny.
It was funny, yeah. But like, I really do hope they explain why he has so much strength. Like... I don't even care if it's like what is it? It's the serum or whatever. Just like let me know. I'm curious. But
because he blows up and he flies after getting hit by a car via what's her name, Eleanor Bishop. But I mean, good for Kate. Like I was like, whoa, you're gonna pit these two against each other when they first like signaled that. Like, okay, this is gonna be. How does Kate walk away from that?
Yeah, and I actually thought that she was just gonna end up running away or something with her mom, but like, no, they were going on full on fight and everything. But
also Kingpin, let's be real, he was going easy on her. Like she was just for sure. she was a fly that needed to be swatted away. Like she wasn't his target. So you could definitely like tell that he was pulling his punches.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll see when it comes to that. Shall we talk about the scene where Kate and Clint are getting together their plan?
Yeah.
And they're fixing all their trick arrows.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kate freaks out because she's realized that her mom's working with Kingpin, like biggest criminal in New York and everything. And it was, you get this nice moment where Hawkeye's like, "Hey, relax, we'll work this together." She tells him like, "No, this is my mom's problem. Like, you did what you wanted to do. Just go." He's like, "We're partners. Your problems are my problems." So, hooray, character development. But yeah, then they decide, okay, he says, "We're going to need a lot of trick arrows." And she's like, "Fuck yeah." And so they start setting it up. You see a lot of arrows that says Stark on it, some that said Pym. And, she's labeling everything because she's just like, I'm not going to remember all of these things. It was just funny. And yeah, they just start coming up with the plan. They know they're gonna meet the mom at the little benefit or whatever the fuck it is. they know they're gonna need like eyes and ears everywhere, and that was like their little setup of calling the LARPers for help again, and they play like I guess the staff at the party and everything, which is
I guess we have what they're Team Hawkeye now.
Mm-hmm.
Like officially, because they're undercover, they're helping out, Kate and Clint, and then afterwards, I thought it was actually pretty funny how they looped the LARPers back into this final act because they were helping clear the building of people that were getting caught in the crossfire. That moment again, this show has some great like comedic moments that just make you laugh so hard when they're having such a hard time like keeping like getting people to take them seriously, I guess, because of what they're wearing. So what they think would make people take them more seriously is pretty hilarious, but it actually works, which is they get their LARPing costumes on, and as they walk out like in costume, you see a close up of Clint, and he's just like laughing and like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, that's so funny. And that's what I love about after the whole fight. They're talking to the police and everything. And one guy goes, it's like, no, we were just helping people. We're practically Avengers now. So. Oh my God. I thought that was funny. But yeah, when they came in with I remember building up to that when they get into costume, I was like, no, they didn't bring their own costumes, didn't they? And I love the way they walk out. The camera's like, you see them all and everything.
It's a heroic moment.
It's a heroic moment. You just kind of like, at first I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But then I went, fuck it, that actually would work, wouldn't it?
And not only were they helping, clear people out of the building, they were actually like capably like beating down some like some of the tracksuit guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Which, by the way, I didn't know there were that many of them. Yeah.
There seemed to be a lot of them.
There was a lot of the tracksuit guys, but then also, I don't know how much more effective they were than, I don't know, the battle droids from Star Wars.
Yeah.
They were pretty, or stormtroopers maybe, but like they I guess their strength was in numbers because they're pretty like what Kate like I think knocked like a lot of them down like as if they were bowling pins with a couple of rocks. Just threw rocks at them and then they just went down. And I also I wasn't sure, but like, did they kill some of them?
I don't think so,
because they were like shooting arrows at them and they were sticking in them. I don't know if that's enough to kill someone.
I think she was mostly shooting for like non-lethal parts just to get them down.
Right. What about Jack though? He had a fucking sword.
I think Jack might have been hurt killing some.
He had a sword and he was slicing.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that part though, where he starts helping out and it's just like, it seems like he's having the time of his life, like, on guard, haha, just everything. And I love the part where Kate tells LARPers, just get everyone out, just stay here and get everyone out. And they're like, so what about him though? He seems to be doing pretty well. And again, he's having the time of his life. She's just like, I mean, he's a good guy, but like, just get him out of here though, either way. Oh my God, I love that. I love that character, especially in this episode, because he wasn't a bad guy. He just fucking got caught in the crossfire, basically. Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. One of my favorite scenes in the episode, going back a little bit here, was, Clint telling Kate, "Look, it's not easy being a hero." And sometimes you have to make sacrifices. And they're having a genuine moment, one of the best moments in this entire series. And I love what Kate says to him about telling him about the first time that she saw him. And it really is the mission statement for what a great guy, what a great hero Clint is. Because, I mean, she basically is telling him why it is that he has always inspired her, especially when he doesn't have any magical powers. He's just a guy with a bow and arrow. And it kind of is a wonderful moment, and you could see, Clint's a reserved guy, so he's not going to get weepy, but you could see how much of an impact that it had on him. And it kind of really calls out, like, look, we've known this the whole time, and it's wonderful that he has a show, and that, aspect of his character, is being drawn attention to, right? Because look at his track record. Like, he inspires so many people just by being him. Like, it wasn't just with Kate. Look at how he was able to do it with Wanda, but of course, most successfully of all, Natasha. Mm-hmm. He rescued her out of that hell. Of course, off screen, we never saw that, but the point there remains is that he's great at this hero thing, and he kind of always has been, even though he never considered himself to be a role model. So I love how we got a little bit of payoff to that, and it was a great moment of these two finally, like, officially being partners, as they said. So that's great. And then we have the Christmas party, and that's a nice Christmas party. Too bad it wasn't. And I love how all the chaos happening. We know all the people who are going to be there, and of course, who walks in? Yelena.
I love the reaction. Just like, oh fuck, she's here and everything. And I like how Clint didn't even know the whole, like, for the longest time, even though she's literally after him. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that took a long time to get there because Kate was trying to slow her down as much as possible. Mm-hmm. They had this wonderful gag where, like, she's pushing all the buttons in the elevator. They're in the same elevator. She slaps Elena's face, and Elena is like, "How could you?" And they run after each other. They have, like, these pretty funny, like, quasi fights, and they're really more like cat fights, really. Even though they are punching each other a lot. In a couple of offices, there's this wonderful moment where, like, hey, you want to go get a drink? And it's like, yeah, after I kill Clint, but sure. Just wonderful humor happening here. But they eventually get down into Rockefeller. And a lot of distractions happen. Clint ends up, like, almost getting shot by her, and then he ends up having to, like, outrun the tracksuit guys and Kazi, and then he falls into the Christmas tree, which is pretty funny. He sees an owl there, and that owl comes back, and we got to talk about this because
I thought it was weird the first time we saw it. I was just like, okay, an owl. I mean, is this a joke on, like, Hawkeye that he's, like, the bird name or something? I don't know what's going on here.
So later on, when the tree falls over, and Clint and this is I love how this was staged. Clint and Kate are trying to fight their way out of the Rockefeller Center area, the skating rink, and all of the Russian guys are, like, after them, and they used their trick arrows, and I love seeing them at work. Again, like, these guys went down like bowling pins, for the most part. But then two of them, I suspect, are in one of the vans, and they try running them over, and then Kate uses the Pimtech arrow, which shrinks them. And this is funny for several reasons. Like, both of them are just, like, they're at a complete loss for, like, how to undo this, because there were two people in there, and they're now, like, literally the size of an ant. And, like, Clint's just kind of confused, like, well, I guess I got to ask Scott about that. And what happens next, when I saw it happen, I was literally laughing so hard because I couldn't believe this again. This is one of those moments in this show that they know they got the humor down really, really, really right. The owl that we saw earlier in the tree, picks up the van and just leaves. That's all she wrote.
Yeah. Yeah, once it came in, I was like, okay, there it is. I guess that's a cool setup.
Those poor guys.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I really like that whole action scene. They're just like, they were trying to come up with as much trick as they could in this scene, I guess. Just like try to take down everyone. And then some of them were pretty cool. I like the way he got rid of all their guns, you know, just so like we can, and that happened a few times before the big fight, but like they'll fucking come out of nowhere and they'll point the gun like right at their faces or bodies right there. And then they'll just like deflect. And I'm like, I feel like could have used it sooner, guy. But yeah, I like how they set up the fight and everything, and it was just fun. They were a team, and we got this Hawkeye suit, and you know, she sees him with it, and she's just like, "Oh, you put it on, cool." And I like the little joke afterwards in the fight, where he was just like, "This is a really nice material. You know, they did a really good job making this costume."
Yeah.
But yeah.
it was fun to see her excitement. I'm like, oh, you wore the costume. That's nice. So talk about Yelena and her final confrontation with Clint.
Oh yeah. It was nice. I mean, it's basically what I expected. You know, it didn't seem like Hawkeye was really fighting hard against her, but you know, he was just, and I kind of liked that he was just like, look, if I explained everything, you're not going to believe me. But just know that she sacrificed herself to save the world. And, you know, she thinks he's lying. And if he was telling the truth, she thinks he should have, like, stopped her or fought harder to stop her. And I like what he says, just like, she's a better fighter than me. I wish it would have been me, but she tried to stop me too. And she's a better fighter. So she took the lead on that, basically. But yeah, it was a nice moment.
No, it was. I think, look, executed really well, I feel, and it was a wonderful, I would say, shared moment between both Yelena and Clint, in which they got to properly express their grief, you know, over the loss of Natasha. And this is basically, I think Kyle said this in the chat, Natasha finally got her eulogy, because this is definitely what it feels like. And, you know, of course, Yelena wouldn't believe it at first, but then Clint uses the whistle that Yelena and Natasha used to do as kids that we saw in the Black Widow movie. It's just a wonderfully executed scene, and also just very sad, ultimately, as it should be. And Yelena just, like, leaves, and she is pretty, like, yeah, there was some lines that are like, it's not fair, you had so much time with her. And then, like, Clint, like, yeah, I don't deserve it. I mean, but, you know, it was the choice that she made. So, to the confusion we had last week, it seems this definitively answered the question then, right? Because Clint was saying, you wouldn't believe me if I explained it. So then it is not common knowledge in this universe that Natasha sacrificed herself to secure the Soul Stone on Vormir. It is established then that everybody knows that Natasha died, but nobody knows how. And nobody seems to care. And then nobody knows in the MCU that Tony would not have been able to make the final save if it weren't for Natasha's sacrifice. And if all of that is confirmed, which I believe it is, what a shitty thing to do. Don't you think she deserves to have that be common knowledge? Like, why would the Avengers conceal that? If the public already knows so much about Infinity Stones and Thanos, why purposefully leave out Natasha's involvement in securing them and saving the universe?
Wait, do the people know about the Infinity Stones?
Yeah, they do. In Far From Home, there's a documentary. Thanos, a snap or a blip or whatever. They know they know. I mean, they had to know because they had 5 years to know. Like there was a person named Thanos, and he used these things called the Infinity Stones to wipe out half of life across the entire universe. It is common knowledge. They know the intricate details of the battle at the end of Avengers Endgame.
No, I mean I understand how they would know battling Thanos, the whole battle itself. I just wasn't sure if they knew about the stones themselves. Because, I mean, they could have just said, oh, he wants to take over the world and all that.
No, they know.
To the people. No, yeah. But So it's pretty clear that they told him what exactly his plan was. So then, I think, the people should have known what exactly she did to get the stone and everything. So... yeah, that's
not good, Marvel. Not good. This is pretty bad, and I don't understand the purpose for it. It's just it doesn't say a lot. Again, first female Avenger, and this is the definition of doing her dirty. On top of making her the only movie with her, where it was supposed to be her solo film, making it more of a passing of the baton than anything else. So. That's bad. And then Kate has like a final interaction with her mom, and then she gets arrested.
Yeah. Also
a pretty hilarious line. Is this what heroes do, Kate? Arrest their moms on Christmas? What a guilty...
I know. That was... I hated that, honestly. Honestly, I even hated it with Kingpin. He was like...
with
it was like... the spirit of Christmas or something. I really think you should reconsider something like that. I don't know, but like he basically like uses Christmas as a reason, like as to why he's holding back. And I was like, I don't know about that line. It's the same thing with the mob. It's just like this is what they do: arrest their moms on Christmas Eve. that was not good.
It's funny, man. Come on,
it's funny, yeah, but like that's not a good line, honestly. Oh man, but I think I like what she did. She was okay with arrest. I mean, not okay, but like she was willing to arrest her mom for what she did.
So because of that, we see finally Clint come home for the holidays, and he brings Kate and Lucky with them. He refers to them as a couple of strays. Does that mean that she's gone to live with him and his family?
I doubt it. I think it's Christmas. Doesn't want her to be alone on Christmas. So I think she's just there for a day. And then...
Well, she did it to herself, David. I mean, she arrested her mom on Christmas,
But and I think it's just more of a thank you, I guess, for helping him get the suit, because they burn it later on, which is cool. But I think that was just the reason, just there for a day. And I really like the ending. Actually, no, hold on. No. Before that, Clint gives his wife the watch that they've been trying to get, which we really don't know what it is exactly still.
It's just a watch with a S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on it and the number 19, which confirms that Linda Cardellini was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And I guess Mockingbird.
Maybe.
I mean, they don't use the word, but I guess it indicates that's what it is, but that's kind of where it ends, and that's that. Nothing more to say.
I was kind of sad. I was really hoping she was a Black Widow.
That wasn't going to happen. I mean, it would have been, but no.
Yeah, but I mean, cool, I guess. I mean, it makes sense. They probably met at S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything. But yeah, so then, the ending, they burn the Ronin costume. She's just like, what is it, Hawk Lady? Or, just coming up with names. Right. And then he goes, I got one. And then it cuts to credits. I think she's just going to take the Hawkeye title, though. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then get...
Yes, go
on.
And
then we get the mid-credit scene. It's so cringe, but I love it.
Rogers, the music. They give us the entire musical number.
And I love the composer. It cuts back to him, but and like he's slowly like getting emotional. Like, I did it. It's like I made this song. But yeah,
that's something that happened.
When I was watching it, I was like Clint in the moment. Like, you see him slowly just going down his seat as he was watching it. That was me too. Like, oh god.
Yeah. I don't know if it was meant to be good. That's the thing. It's like, oh my god.
Watch, it's gonna be Agatha all along.
Oh god, I would hope not.
But yeah, that was the episode.
Yeah, that was the episode, and I guess that means we're done. Thank you all so much for listening to our recaps of Hawkeye, and we so hope that you stay tuned for a lot more of our coverage here on Red Spotlight Entertainment. Stay out of the spotlight, and we'll see you next time. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.